In this video, I would like to talk about how to create a sales script. You need to become a master in presenting because it's the one skill that can make you very successful. And there's usually one or main products that you're mainly selling in your company, and that's going to be your main income. So there is a way or a script that you typically use to sell those main products that give you most, let's say, of your commission. And so the point is to create a script that works almost every single time, that is consistent, and that is basically your money making machine. The way you build or structure a sales script has to be in a logical way, okay? You always start with a problem, then you develop a need, and finally you present a solution. So that's the main structure. But building a sales script is not done in one day. It's your tool that must be developed and tweaked and perfected over time. And obviously, you develop it with your clients, and the more you client meetings you have, the better your sales script will be. But here's the point. At some point, you need to write it down. You need to learn it by heart. You need to be so secure and sure of what you're going to say in each situation. You need to have potential objections ready, and you need to have 2 or 3 different answers for each objection, and you need to learn it by heart so that there's no surprises. And so you need to be able to focus solely on the reactions and the energy of your client, and everything, your entire sales script should be something that you've learned by heart, that you know how to do it automatically, and so that you can be more successful in the interaction with your client. Well, an important part of your sales script is visual effects, because most people are visually oriented. So let's say you can have it like in your brochure, you can have it on your computer, whatever you have, whatever you explain, you can take an empty pad of paper and a pen and you draw and explain things by drawing, because people need to visually see it. So whatever you use lots of visual things like pictures, sketches, charts, and so forth to make a point and to explain something in a simple way. Well, ideally, every sales script is a 2-step approach. What do I mean by that? Well, typically you ask a lot of initial questions in your first meeting. Let's say you have 2 different meetings. You can have 1 meeting or 2 meetings, but in your initial phase, you ask lots of questions. So that's the phase where you want to find out as much information as possible from your client, where you then can go back, let's say, to your office and analyze the answers, and then let's say in a second meeting, you present the solution. Now, the main goal of finding out all this information in the first meeting is so that you have, let's say, all the ammo that you need to, hit the target when you do a second meeting. But also, you want to ask lots of pre-closing questions in your first meeting. And it could be something like this. You could, for example, say, Mr. Client, I see that you have your insurance company, let's say with ABC Insurance Company. Now, let's assume I was able to find a cheaper solution for you from a different insurance company. Would you be willing to look at it? So it's like a general opening question. And the client could say, oh yeah, of course, I would be open to look at it. Well, and then the next question is, what if you really liked it and felt it was the better choice? Would you be willing to change your policy? And then he says, well, if it's really better, yes, then I would be open. Okay, so then can I take it as one of my jobs for the next time when we meet to present you with a better solution? Yes, of course. See, so I ask a number of pre-closing questions to basically already lock him in the first meeting, so I know in the second meeting I basically can close the deal, or he's at least willing to look at it, okay? So you need to use lots of pre-selling or pre-closing questions in your first meeting, because 80% of, let's say, your sales is done initially. And the more questions you ask in the beginning, and the better you can analyze what your client really wants and needs. Well, the basis of every communication with a client is your relationship. So you want to have like a mutual likability. So I call this the green round. Why green round? Well, because the green personality structure is the person who is nice, who is friendly, who smiles a lot, and so forth. So initially, the first, let's say, 5-10 minutes should be spent not on the product, but on the relationship. So you say things like, you small talk, or you ask, hey, how was your day? You talk about the football game, you talk about things that interest him, and you focus on the relationship, and you find out what is the general mood, where he's at emotionally right now, and you never get straight to the point. You always focus on the relationship first, building rapport and developing a positive mood for the first 5-10 minutes. And sometimes, if it's more of a tricky client or situation, the time is longer, and you need to invest more time before you can actually start with your product presentation. Then what also works is to ask the question about his personal goals and dreams, and write them down, or to let him fill out the list of, let's say, preset goals and dreams. For example, like, Mr. Client, would you like to save taxes, okay, for example? And he says yes. Would you like to save for your retirement? Yes. Mr. Client, what else do you want? Do you want a better performance? Yes. And so forth. So you ask him a few things, and you say, okay, so those are your goals and dreams. What else do you want? Well, I want to buy the house, and I want to buy this boat or this motorcycle or whatever it is. Okay, so okay, great. So my job as a consultant is to help you achieve your goals. So with whatever we do, let's say it's financial planning, for example, you can say, look, I'm trying to find the next meeting that we have all the advantages and things like that, so that we can achieve your goals. And then the next time when you meet with someone, you say, Mr. Client, and this is how you can start even. You can say, Mr. Client, last time we spoke about your goals and dreams, and here's the list. Please look at your list and tell me if anything has changed. Is this still the same? Is this still what you want? And he says, yes, okay. And then you go through your presentation, and then you say, well, as you can see, we were able to save taxes, right? Yes. With this product, we were able to save for your retirement. Yes. We were able to this. Yes, 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 yes. Okay? So at the end you say, see, with my product, we were able to achieve all your goals and dreams. And how do you like that? He said, well, that's great. Well, you see, therefore, the next step is to, and then buy the product. So you start with the goals and dreams. You make it the focus of your sales presentation, because those are the things that he really wants, and you connect the things that he wants with your product. Curiosity is key. So usually when you have, let's say, a first meeting, what you do is you don't tell him everything, how it works and the details and so forth. No. You keep the attention high. You keep him curious, because he must be excited to meet you for the second time, for the second meeting, where you present the solutions, where you present the product. So you could say, Mr. Client, I can promise you this. In this area, I have a solution for you that will make you very happy. You can already be excited. I won't give you any details right now, but I can tell you we will save a lot of money when I present to you what I actually have. Okay? So you keep the curiosity level always high, and you don't give away every detail. And in the second meeting, he will be excited to be there, and he will be curious to see what you have to offer. Well, we talked about that you always must start with a problem, and you must make it emotional, and you must make it painful, and the logical conclusion is to fix your problem is your product, okay? So your client will only buy your products if he feels he has a need, which means he has a problem that he's aware of or made aware of, or a deficit somehow, and then he will buy it. If he feels he has no problem, he will not buy anything. And therefore, you must make your presentation very emotional. Use stories. Sometimes you need to paint a picture that's a little bit more dark than it actually is, so that the person has a motivation and need to act. You should also use lots of control questions during your sales presentation. Don't just go through the whole thing, da 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 da, and then after an hour you say, well, did you get it? And he's like, oh, what? I have no idea. So after each, let's say, important mini topic of your presentation, you should ask control questions like, has everything that I've explained so far made sense? Or, do you agree? And so forth. So ask lots of control questions so that at the end, it's not an overwhelming thing, so that everything is logical, is clear, and made sense, and he follows you. And you should include those control questions, otherwise you might lose the client somewhere along the way and you have not even any kind of ideas where you lost him. Also, your product should not be revealed in the beginning. Don't start with, oh, this is our product. No, 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 no. What you should do is you should talk about his problems, about his needs, what he needs, how to fix the problem. And then you talk about how you can fix it and what's required and so forth. And at the very end, that's when you reveal the product and the right solution. And it should be a logical step to do that. And it shouldn't be like where you start with the product and you explain the features of the product. That's a bad way to start. You want to focus on what he has to say, what his problems are, and how you can present solutions, but the product, reveal it as late as possible. Then always remember, if you have a positive, happy mood, that's when you close deals, okay? That's when people are in a good mood too, and you can use lots of, let's say, stories or jokes even, if you're a jokester, but lots of stories to explain certain things, to make it emotional. Because a story is always entertaining and emotional, and most people love stories because when we were little children, we loved the good night stories, okay? And that's how most people understand the message much better. And also, be energetic, be enthusiastic, have the fire in you, have that excitement, because that comes across. So those things are sometimes much more important than what you say and the details and so forth. So your whole energy and the excitement and the stories and this and that are more important than talking about every single boring detail, so to speak, that you have on your list. And remember, keep it short and simple and stupid. Because the goal of your presentation is to get the message across, okay? And it's an art to take something complicated and explain it in a very easy and simple manner. But that's what you must do. You must take the most complicated topic and explain it in a simple way so the person will get it. Because most people, the average person, is not very intelligent. So that's why you must make it idiot-proof, so to speak, okay? And also, when you lose the client because you get too technical and you explain too many details, the attention span will go down, and when that happens, he gets bored, okay? And then he will stop listening. And so what you want to do is, obviously, you want to, make it simple, maybe add some laughter, add a story, get him more involved so that he doesn't turn off his brain, so that the attention span is always there. And remember, closing is easy if you've done your job well before, which means focus on the relationship. If you have a logical setup and explanation, then closing should be a logical consequence. It shouldn't be hard. You shouldn't get many objections. If you have lots of trust and likability and so forth, then the closing is easy. And also, before you actually go into the closing phase, where you start, getting your contract on the table and so forth, make sure that the mood before you go into the closing phase is a happy, positive mood. Because sometimes what you can do is just before you go into the closing phase, you can tell a joke, and in that moment, everybody laughs, and then with that laughter, you say, hey, by the way, the next step is to, fill out the application. And that's how you get into the closing phase. So you want to have a positive phase, not a negative phase or a boring phase, because most likely, then it's not going to close. You're not going to be able to close the deal. Always remember, use lots of praise and recognition, okay? Even when you have rejections or he asks you a question, always use praise and recognition. Say, oh, thank you so much for giving me this question. Oh, good point. Or, hey, that's a great argument that you just bring up here. So always praise him, okay? Because people don't get enough praise. So you want to make him feel good. You want to give him praise because he doesn't get any praise in the regular life, okay? And also then, obviously, you want to have an expression of understanding like, well, I completely understand how you must feel, or if I were in your shoes, I would say exactly the same thing, but here's what, and so forth. So using praise and recognition is very, very important. Earlier I said you should always keep it simple, okay? Keep it simple and stupid. But what you should also do is once in a while, and I'm talking about maybe a minute or two, you should explain something that's a little bit more technical, and you should show that you are an expert. So sometimes for like a minute or two, you explain something and use lots of technical terms, and you know that he doesn't really understand what you're trying to say, but it gives him the feeling that, wow, this person knows what he's talking about, he's a real expert, and I can trust him. So it gives you trust and credibility. Then after you have to go back to the easy and simple way of explaining things, but once in a while, at the right time, showing what you know and using your knowledge will help you to convince the client. And then with everything that you do, practice makes perfect. Because like everything in life, there's a learning curve. And sometimes you must make certain mistakes to get better. Okay, sometimes you must screw up the entire presentation, lose the client, lose an important deal in order to do it. Sometimes I had salespeople who said to me, oh, I have this big client with, big commission possible. Why don't you do it for me so we're not going to lose him, okay? But my answer was always, you must sometimes lose also some of the bigger fish so that you know how to deal with them, that maybe it hurts a little bit so that next time you're better prepared, or next time you're not going to lose him again. So practice makes perfect, and you must just have many different sales situations to get better and better. And remember, as I said, write down your script, learn it by heart, learn all the possible objections by heart, and then focus your energy and your attention on the behavior and the energy of the client so that you know where you're at and where your client's at every time, at every point in time, and that it's not an issue of how you say it, what you say, because that should be really perfect, but you need to focus on when to say what in the right moment and focus your attention on the client. So I want to encourage you to build that money-making structure of your sales script, and I'm happy to help you with my other services that I offer, but I wish you all the best.